Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Networking Thursday. We're very glad you're with us today. It is, let's see here. I got the wrong slide. Here we go. It's June 22nd, 2023. Sorry about that. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Please note this event is recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter them into the Zoom chat window. For those watching on Facebook, just enter your comments or questions into the comment field. We are monitoring both feeds. We'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We've got a really good presentation tomorrow morning. I'll tell you about that at the end of this presentation. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview Team. The Practice Interview Team is a great way to practice your interviewing skills. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile are not going to get you a job. They get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. Well, for every session, we have a different speaker talking about networking. Today, our speaker is Jay Arbetter. He's a senior vice president at wealth management at UBS. He wrote a book called The Power Networking Strategy. He wrote this book a couple years ago, and you can find it also on Amazon. Jay is not, I thought Jay would be with us today live. He said he wanted to do the presentation live. I can't, he hasn't popped on yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a presentation that he gave us last year. So give me just a second to get it up and running, and we will get started here.
Change your life. Networking is a life skill. It's something we learn, something we practice, something we develop. And we're going to spend a lot of time today learning what I've learned to help y'all get back in the workforce. I would never want to say that I would want my training and my skill set and what we're going to do today to help any of you find a job. That's not my goal, right? My goal is to help you find your dream job, not a job. So you're never sitting here again because you're doing something in the right culture with the right people that's suited for you perfectly, and you found your dream job. 98%, 90%, 85%, whatever number you want to use, of the best jobs in America are gotten through someone that you know. And if you don't know how to use that skill set to help people, help you, then you're leaving that best skill set off the table for you to find your dream job. And so we're going to talk a lot about that today. There's a myth out there that says it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I use the word myth because that's not true. And I'll repeat it again. We always think it's not what you know, it's who you know. But the reality is, if you don't know the right people and they're not willing to help you, then it's not of any value to you. So the goal is to not find the right connections in your life, but to have them become your ambassador and your advocate. So just knowing the right people is not the key here. The key is finding the right people in the centers of influence that will be your personal ambassador and your personal advocate. And that's what we're going to learn today. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because that will change your life. And this is a life skill. All right. So if we get into this, in my book, I've got a lady named Sarah. Now, Sarah was a woman that I met early in my career who started a business after her 4 kids left home, went to college, and she basically was a house mother her whole life. But she wanted to start a business, and she had an idea, and she didn't have a lot of money. And she figured it out. And by the time I met her, she had a very thriving business, and she was doing millions of dollars in sales, had all of her kids working for her and her husband. And she built this business on no money whatsoever and was doing millions in sales. So I asked Sarah one day, early in my career, I said, Sarah, what courses in business did you take to teach you how to start a business, to be so successful, starting at age 58, having never owned a business before and not having any money to really start it? Because I have 3 degrees, economics, finance, and accounting, and I didn't learn how to do that in my college classes. So what business classes did you take? And she said to me, I never went to business school. I went to acting school, and I love my acting classes, and that's why I'm so successful. So I said, okay, I give. How did your acting classes help you become so successful? And what she said to me next changed my life. And I'm going to say it to you guys because it's everything in the foundation of professional networking. And what she said to me is, when you're out in the world, you're on stage. Everywhere you go, every person you talk to, you're on stage. And if you take the negativity of your life with you when you meet people and talk to people and engage people, then you will push them away and they will never be interested in helping you. So when you leave your house every day, and we all do, and things go wrong, and they always do, and we take that with us in our conversations or in our attitude or in our negativity, we push people away. They don't gravitate to us. You're on stage when you're out of your house. And as soon as you learn that, then you have an opportunity for meeting people who want to be part of your life, who engage with your enthusiasm, who love the passion of your life and want to be part of that. You always need to be on stage when you're out of your house, and you always need to be aware of it. The cornerstone to building advocates and to building ambassadors starts with the principle of understanding that you're on stage and you want to be your best self at all times. That's how you build the right advocates. That's how you build the right ambassadors. And I'm not going to read to y'all today, but I'm going to read to you just 2 things because I think they're important. And this first quote really talks about what Sarah had to say to me. And what it's from a Reverend Swindell. And he says, the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than the facts. It's more important than the past. It's more important than education. It's more important than money. It's more important than circumstances. There will always be failures. There will always be successes. It's important that what we understand is that the gifts God gave us and the skills that we have are of no value if we have a bad attitude. A bad attitude or a good attitude will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is, and the thing that Sarah taught me, is we have the choice every day regarding the attitude we embrace that day. Nobody chooses that for us. What we get to choose is our attitude, how we're going to be on stage, how we're going to be passionate, how we're going to care, how we're going to approach people, how we're going to talk to people. That's what we get to choose. Nobody chooses that for us. The only thing we can do is play the one string we get to control. And that's our attitude. And then he finishes up with, I'm convinced, and he's right. And Sarah made it very clear that life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. Those are the skills that help us become professional networkers, that help us build ambassadors, that help us build advocates, so that people want to be around us. Now, I give this lecture, I give it all over the United States, and I talk about my book, and I run into the same things all the time, and I want participation here, right? There's a lot of reasons that people don't like to network. They're afraid to meet people, they're shy. What I would like people to give me an idea of is what would make you uncomfortable reaching out to someone to say, I'm unemployed, I need some help. Give me some ideas of what would make that hard for you or uncomfortable. Let's work together to bring these thoughts out, because it's really important at this point we talk about those issues. Anybody have some ideas?
You're welcome. Just press your space bar. That should unmute your mic and offer your opinion.
And offer your opinion. Exactly. Anybody have any ideas? The things that I get when I'm doing these presentations, and maybe somebody might agree with this, is they feel ashamed they got laid off. And they don't really want to tell anyone that they've been laid off or that they're unemployed. Does anybody ever feel that way?
Yes.
Tell me about that. And who are you?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I'm Steve Novak. Yeah, I mean, I've been in the professional world for about 25 years and never been laid off before. So this is a new category for me. And I guess early on, the perception is, well, only the worst workers are the ones that are getting laid off, not anybody that's actually good at their job.
And that's a very real emotion. I get that a lot. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to deal with it, and we're going to learn how to overcome that so that we can move forward and get our dream job as quickly as possible. And I really appreciate that. Is that Michael Novak?
Actually, Michael is my brother, but this is Steve Novak.
Oh, Steve Novak. Okay. All right. So, and so that's a very real emotion. I also get that I feel like it's my responsibility to get a job. It's nobody else's. So I'm not going to ask anybody else for help because I should be able to do this on my own. Does anybody feel that way? Okay. And then I get, feelings like I don't want to impose on my friends, right? That's not their responsibility. And I don't feel like I should be imposing on them because they're not there to take care of my life. So I don't really want to ask for help. Does anybody feel that way? Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yes. David here. Yes.
David, tell us about that.
Well, I just feel like like you said, the word was imposition, that I'd be imposing to ask a favor on somebody. And maybe I haven't built the necessary, I don't know what it is, investment in the bank, so to speak, in their lives before asking.
And that's a very real thing. I get that a lot. And it really is a stumbling block that we feel emotionally in order to avoid doing what we need to do, which is to get those ambassadors and advocates working for us. So, there's pride, there's a little bit of embarrassment, there's a little bit of ownership, there's a feeling of imposition. These are all things that I hear regularly where people prefer to just try to figure this out on their own rather than reach out. Have I missed anything that anybody else might be feeling that would kind of make it awkward for them to reach out?
Well, I think the whole shy thing is something that people really need to, I mean, I know personally I'm an introvert, so I don't want to, I don't want to impose. I'm not, anything I can do that I don't have to pick up the phone or don't have to send that email, I will do that. I would prefer to do that via picking up the phone and calling somebody.
Right, being shy or withdrawn. And I also get it's kind of awkward, right? You may not have talked to this person, you just may have met them recently, and you want to be able to connect up with them, but it's awkward. You don't know how to ask for help, and so you just don't. And so it's easier to withdraw than it is to take a risk and be rejected. There's always that feeling of rejection if you ask a friend for help and they don't help you. So, and you don't want to feel that rejection. You already feel rejected enough having been laid off. So, does anybody have that feeling of like their fear of rejection from asking for help?
Jay, my name's Jeff, and I have this tic that is caused by the neuropathy from the chemotherapy that is burning my fingers and my feet. If I could get rid of the neuropathy, I would almost feel human again. But it has been 14 years since I've had a real job. I've been working at Target, and they were kind enough to spend $650,000 to keep me alive when my colon ruptured 11 years ago. And I would love to get back to work in supply chain. I have been called a dinosaur by the woman that runs Jewish Family Services. And I said, please tell me, you don't know a thing about me, but what has happened in the past 10 to 14 years that I can't learn in 2 hours? And I am in a great deal of pain, and it makes me anxious, and that's why you hear this tic. And I was told I can't tell people that I've had cancer, so I just have to let them make their own choices about what's causing my tic.
Interesting. This is the first time I've dealt with this concept. I don't think, Jeff, I agree with you. I don't think there's anything that's out there you can't learn and learn well enough to be competent at it. I think that the amount of what would be the right word that we're going to talk about today is a sense of self-confidence when you're talking to someone, so that you feel like you're competent to do the job, and how you approach that and your self-confidence and the attitude you bring to that is going to be what wins people over, regardless of what you've had to endure. And somehow, in some way, I think that's in your case, it's almost an asset because you've survived it and you've endured it and you've worked during all these years through it, which makes you a much stronger, more reliable individual for any company than someone else might be. You're tried and proven. So you have something you can bring to the table that other people can't. So we're gonna, there's an asset there that in that interview process, and I think Jeff could help you with that, that could really turn that into a positive. And I would certainly look at any kind of a challenge like you've been through as a way to turn that into a positive as to what you can offer other people could never offer, because they haven't been through what you've been through and survived it. So I would get with Jeff and the pit crew and work on an interview process of how to bring that out in a really positive manner. Would you agree, Jeff?
Yes, definitely. Reach out to dallaspitcrew.com.
And they can help you with that. And I think you've got a lot to offer. And I would certainly want to bring that out in the interview in a positive way. So we have all these negative things we live with, right? There's a little bit of embarrassment. There's a little bit of shame, a little bit of, we don't want to impose. We don't want to feel rejection. There's all these things that we feel that keep us from being professional networkers. They stand in the way of us building an ambassador or an advocate for us to get into a really great opportunity that we might not find on our own. And I want to tell you anytime that you're referred into a company by someone that they know who says you're a quality individual, it's a lot easier to get that position than it is to go through a random email through Indeed or any kind of an online service. When you're referred in by someone they trust, it's a much cleaner way for you to win that job because they already know someone that knows you. So you want to build these advocates and you want to build these ambassadors. And we have to get over all the negativity we feel before we do that. So I've thought a lot about that. And everything we're going to talk about today is in my book. And the reason I wrote the book is because I'm going to give you 36 years of training in an hour and a half. And you're going to get about 20% of it. So the book is available for, I think, I don't know, 16, 18 bucks. I made it as cheap as I could so that everybody wouldn't have to take notes. You can just go on Amazon and buy it and then review it. And it'll change your life, because building networks and professional relationships is a life-changing skill, because anything you need, you've got someone you can call that knows somebody that can get it done. And that's really important. So I thought about it, and if you have a locker and the locker has $10 million in it and it's locked, and there's 20 people in the room, and one of them has the key to that locker, and all you have to do is go to each person and say, do you have the key to this lock? And if they do, they will tell you yes, and all the money's yours. Now, there's a lot of reasons we don't like to ask people for help. But which one of those reasons is going to keep you from asking all 20 people if they have the key to that locker so that you can get all the money out of there and it's yours? I doubt it's going to be, you don't want to be rejected by the 19 people that say, I don't have the key. And I doubt it's going to be, well, I should be able to make the money on my own, so I'm not going to go get the money out of the locker. So I'm not going to ask anybody, right? There's no instinct that we have that would make us not ask all 20 people if they have the key so we can go get that money. Nothing we've talked about today would keep anybody from doing that. If there's one of you that would say, I would never ask those 20 people, I'd like to hear it right now, right? I would, everybody would. And so what I've thought about is there's no difference between asking any one of those 20 people if they have the key to that locker, then meeting someone, making them an ambassador, and asking if they know someone that can help you get the career job of your lifetime, which in many ways would be more rewarding than just having the money. So if you would be willing to ask all 20 strangers if they have the key, then you really wouldn't hesitate to ask one person if they know somebody that can help you build the career opportunity of your lifetime. There's no difference. And if you would do one, let's do the other, because it's far more valuable. Does that make sense? So let's go forward and do this, all right? Because literally, once we've learned how to do this and it's not awkward anymore, then all those feelings go away. And what we want is to keep our eye on the prize, which is getting that opportunity we would never get on our own because we've built advocates and ambassadors. So the second time I'm going to read to you is to understand what networking is. All right? So networking is a noun and networking is a verb. So as a noun, if you understand what it is, it's the process of sharing information or contacts with other people in a professional or social environment that have common interest with you. And they can be helpful in professional development finding a job, or social interaction. And the key phrase in here is sharing information with people that have a common interest. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you will never have an advocate or an ambassador in your life that doesn't share a common passion or interest with you, period. So when you're looking for those centers of influence or those people that you're going to ask for help, single out those people that you have a common passion and a common interest with or a common hobby. And we're going to talk about how to build those relationships today. Because everything changes when you meet that person and they want to be your advocate and they want to be your ambassador. So they have to have a common interest. As a verb, networking is to develop the relationship with someone that has a common interest, common hobby, or common passion, so that you can share information, social networking, and relationships together. So first, it's the sharing of it, and the second part is the development of it. And we're going to talk about those. Now, literally, I've built a career out of learning how to professionally network and to ask people to be my clients, to refer me business, and build a network of incredible, incredible people. So in your world, we're going to learn how to find those people, develop them, and be your advocates and your ambassadors. If you think about in social world, who really are the best networkers on the planet, bar none, and as good as I am, I will never be as good as they are. Can anyone think in our social stratosphere of society who naturally are the best networkers on this planet? Always have been and always will be. Anybody got a guess?
Salespeople.
Salespeople are great networkers. There's no question about it. The problem with that being an inherent thing is they have to go out and find people that they would have a common interest with. This is a God-given thing already. You don't have to work at it. And the answer to that question are new mothers. Anytime a new mother is walking around with a baby and sees another new mother, they become instant friends. They share everything. They share pediatricians. They share play groups. They share where their discounts are, where they get their stuff for their kids. Their it's just share everything, right? They all become instant friends almost automatically because they have a common passion and a common interest that's automatic, that's passionate, that's deep in their hearts. And it's just unbelievable how they get together. And sometimes they make lifelong friendships forever because they met as new mothers. We don't have that opportunity as we get older, right? Kids have the same classrooms, the same teachers, the same homework. They make friendships. They have common interests, common passions. We don't get that opportunity as we get older and we live our personal lives and our family lives to build those kinds of networks. So we have to learn how to do it on our own. And what I'm going to teach you today is how to do that, how to work with them, how to engage them, how to make them your advocate and your ambassador. So we're going to launch into that right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about a spreadsheet. And everybody knows how to use an Excel spreadsheet, right? And in column A, what I want you to do is write down 1 through as many of every human being you know. Your doctor, your attorney, your CPA, your friend, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your brother, every person you know goes in column A. All right. Column B is going to be, how do you know them? What do you have in common with them? Now, column C is a little unique Because not only do you have to have something in common with them, but there has to be something that you admire about them. When I started out as a financial advisor, 2-3 years into it, we had an executive trainer come in and talk to the young financial advisors who had shown some instincts and propensity to be successful. And we were all young and learning, and they brought us into a room, and the executive trainer said, "Why do your clients do business with you instead of someone else? What makes you different that makes somebody willing to do business with you? Is it because you're a better investor than every other financial advisor at Merrill Lynch? There's 20,000 of them. Payne Weber, Morgan Stanley, all the other financial firms. Are you that good 3 years in the business? That's why they do business with you? I doubt it. So why are your clients doing business with you? Well, maybe it's because you're so honest and you're straight up and you're respectable. Are you the only financial advisor in all of Merrill Lynch, Payne Weber, Fidelity, everywhere that is honest and straight up and respectable? I doubt it. Well, maybe it's because you're so charming and likable and funny. People like to do business with you. You're the only charming, likable financial advisor in all of Merrill Lynch, UBS, everywhere? I doubt it. So why is somebody doing business with you instead of somebody else? If you don't know the answer to that, he said to us, you're out of business. Because you don't know why you're here. You don't know what your differential is. You don't know why somebody do business with you. And the answer I'm going to give you today is going to make or break your career. So pay attention. And I listened, and it made my career. And what I'm going to tell you right now is going to change your life. Nobody will be your advocate. And nobody will be your ambassador. And nobody would do business with me because I'm competent, I'm caring, I'm nice, I'm friendly. Those are given attributes. The difference between yes and no is not about how likable I am, but it's how much I care about the person that I'm doing business with. It's not how much they like me, it's how much I like them, how much I respect them, how much I want to do business with them, how much you care about the other person. There's a saying that no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And if people don't know how much you care about them, why would they ever do business with you? Why would they ever be your advocate or your ambassador to help you get a job if they don't know how much you care about them? So in your next column, you're going to write down what you admire about this person. And if you don't like them, don't call them, because they're never going to be your ambassador and they're never going to be your advocate. Why would they be? And if you want to be your advocate and your ambassador, tell them what you admire about them, how much you care about them, how much you respect them as a human being. Once you've done that, you own them, because nobody else is doing that. They go to work and their boss yells at them. Their employees are never happy. Their clients the vendors are never happy. Their clients are never happy. They're always on the block for not doing something right. They go home, daddy do this, daddy do that. You didn't do this right. Who tells them they're great? Nobody. You do, you win. So he told us, go back to your book of business, call every client that you like, and tell them what you like about them, and tell them what you admire about them. If you don't like the client, call them and tell them, we're done with our relationship. I'm giving you another financial advisor, whatever it is, clean your book and work with people you care about and genuinely tell them. So honest truth, I went back to my desk. I called the doctor, an OB-GYN, and I said, doctor, and I had maybe $50,000 or $100,000 of his money at the time. And I said, doctor, I really want to tell you something. And he said, what? And I said, we've been doing business with, for about a year now. And every time I talk to you, you've been up all night delivering babies and you see patients all day. And I think you get 4 hours sleep, maybe uninterrupted a night. And the rest of the time you're always up and down. And then you see patients from 8 to 5, you go back to the hospital and do your rounds. I said, whenever I talk to you, you're always in a good mood. I couldn't do that. I don't know how you do it. You're an amazing human being. And I said, this is what he told me to say. So I said it. I said, if my entire book of business was like you, I would feel like I died and went to heaven. And he said to me, you really feel that way? And I said, I wouldn't have called you and told you if I didn't. And I'm really sorry I haven't told you this before. You're amazing. And then he said to me something which changed everything. He said, could you do me a favor? I said, what's on your mind? He said, I've got a large bond portfolio at Fidelity that I can no longer pay attention to. And I would really like it if I could transfer that portfolio over to you and you would take care of it. It's about $2.5 million. I never knew he had any money that I wasn't managing, ever. He's never disclosed it. I didn't even have to ask him for it anymore. He wanted to give it to me because he knew I cared about him as a human being. I ended up taking care of his father, his mother, him, his son, and now I'm into the 4th generation because I made that one statement. I never let a client in my book ever again for the last 36 years that I didn't like, that I don't admire, that I didn't tell them what incredible people they are and how much I enjoy doing business with them. When you start a relationship like that, all they want to do is tell their friends what a great broker they've got and how they should do business with him. And I built a whole career out of letting people know how much I care about it because of that. So in your 3rd column, when you sit down and talk to someone you admire or you care about, you have to tell them. And then you don't have to say much more because they'll do everything they can for you after that because nobody else is telling them. So the principles of professional networking. Number 1, you're on stage. Number 2, you're passionate. Number 3, you care. You bring these principles into your relationships and life changes for you and for everybody around you. So in that 3rd column, you're going to put down what you admire about them. And again, if you don't call them. Then you're going to put down in the next column what you have in common with them as a passion. Because if you don't have anything passionately in common with them, don't call them. There's nothing to talk about that would bind you together for them to want to be your advocate and your ambassador. One of my best stories I've ever told, which happened to me, and it's in my book, is I'm an avid bike rider and I ride for the Plano Bike Association. And one year I decided to ride the MS 150, which is 75 miles or 80 miles one day and 75 miles the next day, or 70. And I'd never ridden 80 miles in one day. I'd ridden 40 or 50, but I decided to ride the MS 150. And I did that, and they give you a shirt. I mean, they give you an envelope, and it's got your number in there and your shirt and the map and where you're supposed to start and everything. And so I got up at 5:30 in the morning because the race started at 7, and you have to get there early and have your bike checked and your helmet checked and make sure you're safe on the road. I opened up my package and there wasn't a shirt in there. So I had 2 choices. And one was I could turn on the light, wake up my wife at 5:30 and listen to that for the rest of my life, or go into a drawer that I've got and just pick out a bike shirt because I have a ton of them and just go. So I decided not to go mess with trying to find my MS 150 shirt. And I just picked a shirt out in the dark out of my drawer and left. I got there and, we started out, it was May 10th, about 10 years ago. And that day happened to be like this year, very hot, 106 degrees. And I wasn't really prepared to ride 80 miles, 106 degrees, and neither was anybody else. So they had these vans that picked people up along the way if you couldn't make it or you got overheated or whatever, and they would just pick you up and take you to the finish line. And they had rest areas. And every 10 miles, they had a rest area. And I didn't really need one in the morning at 7:30. So I rode the 40 miles that I normally ride with one rest, had a nice lunch, felt great. And by noon, the sun had come up and it was 106 degrees. The wind had picked up and I was dying out there. And the next rest area was 10 miles. And I don't know what they did, but I think they moved it because the more I rode, the farther it got away. By the time I got there, I couldn't even function. I was overheated. I was exhausted. I'd already ridden 60 miles and everybody else was standing on the side of the road waiting for the van. I just don't quit. So after 30 minutes of getting lots of water, lots of fuel, getting rested, I said, I will never make the next 10 miles again without stopping. So every 3 miles, I stopped, got water, got fuel, whatever I needed to do, and then 3 more miles and 3 more miles. And somewhere in that process, my legs started cramping up, my toes started cramping up, my side, I couldn't even feel it, and I couldn't even hold on to the handlebars anymore. And I knew if I kept going, I was going to be in a hospital because I wouldn't train for this. And it was too hot, too dry, and too windy. And I was dead. Pulled over the side of the road. Cop pulls up. Are you okay? And I said, yes. I said, I'm just done. I can't go any further. I can't feel my toes. I can't open my hands. I can't move anymore. Just going to wait for the van. And the cop said to me, do you know that you're only 5 miles from the finish line? And I said, officer, if the finish line was across the street, I couldn't make it. I'm done. He said, okay. So a guy's riding along on his bike, pulls over. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm waiting for the van. He said, well, don't you know you're only 5 miles from the finish line? And I said, I know, but I ain't getting there. I'm finished. I can't even feel my toes anymore. I'm so cramped up. Okay. So maybe 25 minutes goes on. I'm sitting in the shade, feeling much better. I don't really want to go do this. I mean, it's just miserable. And a guy pulls up and he looked like a fullback of a football team, professional. And how he got that big body on that little bike that far, I will never know. But he pulled over and he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm waiting for the van. He said, there's not a chance of that. He said, I'm going to get in front of you and I'm going to block the wind. And this is the last uphill. And then it's downhill for the next 4.5 miles. You get behind me, we're going to the finish line. I said, you're kidding. He said, no, I'll block the wind. This is the last hill. I did this last year. It'll be easy after that. So I said, okay, I'll try it. But we're going to go like 3 miles an hour up that hill because I'm finished. Whatever it takes, we're going up that hill. We did. I got to the top of the hill, started downhill. It was really easy. I pulled up next to him and I said, what is your name? He said, my name's Fred. I said, Fred, I can't thank you for what you did for me because I don't like not finishing. He said, I didn't do it for you. I said, well, why did you do that? He said, I did it for your shirt. Now, I don't even know what shirt I had on. It was at 5:30 in the morning when I put that shirt on. So I said, what has my shirt got to do with this? And he said, you're wearing a Komen cancer shirt. And anyone who supports cancer and cancer research is not going to sit on the side of the road under my watch because my wife is a cancer survivor. This is an absolute true story. What I learned that day changed my life. when it comes to people wanting to help you, if they have a common passion or a common interest that you have, they will not let you sit on the side of the road. They will not let you fail. You don't even have to ask. If I would have found my MS 150 shirt, I'd have been sitting on the side of the road forever waiting for a van because nobody would have helped me. But that Coleman shirt was the ticket to me finishing that day. So in that next column, you put down what it is you have a common passion and a common interest with that person. And then when you're going to have a cup of coffee with them or talk to them or re-engage them or engage them for the first time, the two things that you bring up are, tell me about you, right? That's pretty admirable. It's amazing what you do, how much success you've had, whatever it is. And how much, if you met them bowling, if you met them shooting, if you met them playing poker, whatever your common interest is, discuss that. Make that part of the conversation. Find out how they got involved in that activity. You may love the arts. You may have met them at a museum. You may have sat on a committee that they sat on where you both volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. That's your common passion. That's your interest. That's your advocate. That's your ambassador. That's the kind of person that will find you your dream job while you're in the process of doing everything else you're doing. These are the skills that change everything. In the next column, you're going to put down how and you're going to contact them. Do you know their email address? Do you know their phone number? Do you know them on LinkedIn? We have so many ways to contact people and reconnect up. It's unbelievable. Put them all down and know how you're going to reach them. Their cell phone number, email address, LinkedIn, whatever it is, Facebook, however you're reaching out to them, put it down so you know. In the next column, you're going to put down when you're going to contact them. If you've got 50 people on that list, you can't contact 50 people, make time for them, and follow up with it all in one day. It won't happen. So put down, I'm going to call this person on Monday, this person on Monday, this person on Monday, this person on Wednesday, this person on whatever, and put down when you're going to contact them. Professional networking is professional accountability, professional approach. And the more you systematize this, the more professional you are at it, I guarantee you, the more successful you will be, because you can track what it is you're doing and who you spoke to and when you spoke to them. And if they tell you, I'd love to talk to you, but I've got this big project I'm working on. Can we talk in 2 weeks? Put down when they want to be recontacted and contact them. Don't miss that opportunity. So the next column is when they want to be contacted and recontact them. And they may put you off 2 or 3 times, but each time you contact them, they get the message they're important to you. And finally, they will say, what can I do for you? Let's spend some time together. And even if it takes 3 or 4 times or 5 times, the more you re-emphasize by contacting them when they say to be contacted, the more they know they're important to you. And everything is about them feeling important to you. So that's your first section. There's one more column, but I'm going to get to that last. Am I boring y'all to death? I apologize. There's a lot to cover.
Not boring at all. Not boring at all.
Oh, good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Taking it all in.
Okay. In the next section on your spreadsheet, you're going to put down like all your hobbies, all the things you love to do. You love museums, you love to shoot, you love to bike, you love to swim. Write down all your passions, right? And then go on the internet and find groups that meet up that like to do the same things you like to do. Bowling, poker, fishing, whatever it is, biking, find the groups and then go join them and meet people that have the same passion and hobbies that you do. And then put them on the list and then contact them. Let's have a cup of coffee. I met you biking the other day. I met you at the bowling alley. You know, we're on the same league together. Let's get to know each other. You have something in common. You have a passion and interest. You don't know who they know. You don't know what their world is like. And we live in 6 degrees of separation. You may be bowling right now next to a guy that you've never really gotten to know that might be the brother of a CFO of a company you'd love to work for. You don't know that. This networking thing is a shotgun approach to meeting the right people, laying out what it is you need, and letting them go to work for you. So in the second section, if you're not actively doing things that you love to do, find those groups and go do them. You're not working. Sitting on a computer all day long doing the same thing over and over again is fun, but it's not the only thing there is to do to get out there and find your dream job. In fact, it's much more difficult than finding someone who can refer you in. In the third section, if you're in any professional skill set whatsoever, there's many organizations in the Metroplex that meet with those skill sets. If you're an accountant, there are accounting associations. If you're a lawyer, there's lawyer associations. If you're an engineer, there's engineer associations. If you're a teacher, there's teacher associations. They all meet. Who knows better about what job openings there are in your profession than people that are working in it? Go to those meetings. Now, this is really important, but if you go to a meeting and you don't know anyone, you don't talk to anybody, you're not going to get very far in making good connections. So before you go to any meeting or any group on the internet, there's always one person that says, for more information on this organization, contact me. Before you go to any meeting, contact that person. Tell them, I'd love to get to know more about your association, your group, whatever it is you guys do. Can we meet and talk about it? You already know you have a common interest with that person. We already know they like to help people, or they wouldn't put their name out there and volunteer their time. So we already know that they're like the guy that stopped on the side of the road and said, you can't sit there any longer. This guy that puts himself on the internet as the person to contact is the key person to any organization or group that you want to meet. That will be your advocate and ambassador. And once they know what's going on, they're going to introduce you to other people in the organization that can help you. Make life easy. Don't make it hard. They're already putting themselves out there as someone that wants to help. Go to that person. Then they'll introduce you. So when you go to the group meeting, you won't be a stranger. You'll have met 2 or 3 people ahead of time. And they're the ones that are the leaders that everybody follows anyway. So when they introduce you around, you have credibility. And people, and you start gathering names, putting them on your list, following up with these columns, and building these advocates and ambassadors. And pretty soon you have so many people working for you, you won't be able to stand it. Life changes that way. It's changed for me. Made me a huge business. How many of y'all have elevator speeches? Yeah? What is an elevator speech about? You. What do we want to talk about? Them. So when someone asks you point blank a lot about you, make it brief and talk about them. I do financial planning for a living. Before I bring on a client, I ask them about their name, their kids, their grandparents, their parents, their wealth, their income, everything about them. How many of my clients do you think know I have 2 daughters? 0. They don't care. It ain't about me. It's about them. Everything has to center around how much you care about them, not about you. The last column is the most important column in this transitional process of meeting someone and then asking for help. If you're talking to someone who's an engineer and you met them at the bowling alley and they're part of your league, and you're a CPA, and you ask them, do you know any accounting firms that have an opening? They're going to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. They don't know. They're not accountants. So why would you ask that? Right? What you need to ask them in the last column, and this is the key to getting the help you need once you've done everything else right, write down the 4 or 5 firms you want to work for in the Metroplex. Because when you sit down with someone and you say, do you know an accounting position, a firm that has an opening, they don't know unless they're an accountant working for a firm that has an opening. But if you name 4 companies that you know are hiring, and you say, do you know anybody in one of these 4 companies, you may be blown away that their brother happens to be the CEO of the company. But he would never have known that they're hiring, they don't discuss it. Or that they even have the skill set that you want in that company. So if you asked him, do you know anybody hiring in that, in my field? No. You know anybody in any one of these 4 companies, because I've done my research and they're the right demographic, the right size where I can add value. It's perfect for me. All right, so let's go back a little bit. How much more time do I have, Jeff?
Oh, you've got a half hour. We can go to 1:30 or
Okay.
2:30.
All right, so when we're out there looking at ambassadors and advocates, you never want someone to feel like they're helping you. You want to make sure you feel like you're helping them. All right. So when you say to someone, there's 4 companies that I've done the research on that I can add value, it's the perfect mix for me based upon my skill set, my team, and I know these 4 companies are hiring. Do you know anybody in that company? They're going to say, wait a minute, my uncle, my brother, my cousin, my good buddy works there. I wondered if I should call him for you and see if they would talk to you. Because, go ahead, Jason. Oh, okay. So, because they're going to feel like they're helping a friend find the right employee who's looking. And I can promise you, they'd much rather get a referral from someone that knows you than a whole bunch of resumes. Because when I hire, and I post something, I get 35 resumes and I don't know one person from another. It's a lot of work. But if one of my CSAs tells me my cousin has been a qualified CSA for 7 years and is looking, you ought to talk to her, that's the one I want to talk to. She's doing me a favor. So when you approach this right, and you say that I've got 4 companies where I'm a great fit on my skill set, my experience, and everything else, do anybody in those companies, this person is going to feel like they're doing their brother-in-law, their uncle, their friend a favor by bringing you to the table. They're not helping you, they're helping their contact. So you always want to approach it of, I'm looking for the right opportunity and I found it. Do you know anyone that you might, that I might talk to? And they're going to immediately jump to, how can I help my friend? So you always want to put it in a way that sounds good, where you are helping them help somebody while they're helping you at the same time. Now, what did we talk about early? An imposition, right? We don't want to impose on our friends. You're not imposing on someone when you tell you care about them, when you have a common interest and you respect them, and then you give them 4 companies that you can fit into. You're not imposing on them. You're helping them help somebody. And that's a big difference. And they want to. Now, one of the things that we feel when we're being laid off is a sense of failure, right? And I don't know where the word failure cropped into the English language. As a professional attorney, you have to pass the bar. As a doctor, you have to pass the boards. As a financial advisor, you got to pass federal and state licenses. So in almost every profession, as an electrician, you have to pass the state licenses. So a lady came to me, I was training her, mentoring her, and she came to me and she said, I failed the Series 7. I studied and studied and studied and I failed it. And I said, and you can't fail the Series 7. It's impossible. She said, what do you mean? I took the exam. I didn't pass. I failed. It said, when I finished the computer deal, you failed. I failed it. And I said, no, Ann, it's impossible to fail it. And she goes, what are you talking about? And I said, the truth is, you just haven't passed it yet. You didn't fail it. You just haven't passed it yet. And I thought a lot about that because you get to take it 2 or 3 times. You can take the bar 3 times. You can take any licensing exam 2 or 3 or 4 times until you pass it. You don't get your driver's license when you're 16, you failed the driving test, you go drive again, and then you pass. You can't fail it. You just haven't passed yet. So where in the world did we get the idea fail? I thought a lot about that. Well, when we go to school, we get 1 shot at a test. And if you get below a certain mark, the teacher says you failed. But there's no such thing in life that way. If you start a business and it doesn't work, you start another one. If you're out of one job, you get another one. You don't fail, you just haven't succeeded yet. But in school, if you take an exam and you didn't get the grade you want, or you flunked it, you don't get another shot. It's stupid to raise kids from first grade to high school with the word failure. Because we learn that word in real life and then people give up. And they don't try again because they failed. Ann was going to quit and not take the Series 7 again because she failed like she did classes in school. But life doesn't work like that. All my clients that are wealthy, they didn't come out of the gate in their first business and make millions. It was maybe their 3rd business or their 4th. Or they tried a lot of other things that didn't work while they were working. It wasn't as successful as they wanted to be. So the last time they were laid off, they started their own business and became successful. We have an opportunity every day to try something different, to go to another company, to get promoted. There's no such word as failure, but they taught us that in school. So when you get laid off, you haven't failed, you just haven't found, again, the right opportunity to be as successful as you can be yet. But we learn the word failure. It's stupid to ever teach a kid that you failed a class or you failed an exam. I wish that every time I took a test and I got a 78 instead of an 85 or an 85 instead of a 90, the teacher would have said, go back and study again and see if you can get a better grade. Nobody ever said that. You get 1 shot, but life isn't like that. So in all of you that are listening today, this advocate, this networking, this whole thing is about building another life skill so you can be something and more successful than you've ever been yet. And I've seen it over and over again in my clientele. The amazing thing is that in every resume you write, you have to put, well, I work in teams well. Everybody has to put that on their resume now, right? But nobody wants to work as a team. I want to do it myself. But if you don't learn to work as teams, then you can't be successful on the job anymore. Everything's collaboration and teamwork. But what did you tell me when we started out? I don't want to ask anybody for help. I want to do it myself. But it's all about collaboration and teamwork, and success in life is all about that. But I don't want to ask anybody for help because I'm embarrassed, I've been laid off, I'm ashamed, I'm all these other things. I want to do it myself. But on your resume, I work well in teams. Collaboration, building relationships, getting advocates, getting ambassadors, doing everything we've talked about is about teamwork. And what did we really learn about teamwork? Nothing. We went to school, and what did they tell us? Study on your own. Take your test on your own. If you work with anybody else, you're cheating. If they help you on your exam, you've cheated. You've got to do it yourself. They're teaching us all the wrong things in school for the skill sets we need to be successful in life. And they're wrong. Now, when you go get your master's, you have to collaborate and do projects together. And sometimes in undergraduate school, they give you team projects to do. But from first grade to 12th grade, it's 99.9% you and you alone on everything you do. And it's all the wrong values for being successful in life. And all the things we talked about early on as to why we won't ask for help are all the things we learned from first grade to 12th grade. I don't want to impose. I'm ashamed. I got laid off. I'm a failure. All these things are garbage. The reality is networking professionally, building advocates, building ambassadors, all those things are the real values in life that make you more successful. In my accounting days, my first semester, I wanted straight A's right out of the bat. And I had 1 B in economics. And I had to have a 97 on the midterms in order to get an A for the second half. And I'm an early morning person. I'm not a late night person. I've never studied all night in my life. I don't have the mental ability to think after 10:30. I really think well at 5:30 and 6 in the morning. So every class I ever took in college was the first class at 7 a.m. But this particular economics course, I'll never forget it. I decided to get a 97, I better study to make 100. So I stayed up all night. Only all-nighter I've ever pulled. And I went to bed at 4, and I woke up at 6:30, went to my class at 7. Well prepared to make 100 plus the bonuses if they came up. And the worst thing you can see on the board when you walk into a classroom like that was on the board. Teacher sick, exam postponed. I about died. I got 3 hours sleep. I spent all night studying, and I knew that I was going to forget almost all that stuff by the time the exam was done, because you study for the 3 hours you need to, and then you forget it all. So I was sunk. My next class was at 8 o'clock, and it was my accounting class. And the second worst thing you can see on the board happened to me then. And it said, pop quiz today. What I had not done read anything in my accounting stuff because I did everything in economics all night. Wasn't prepared. Got a 60 or 55 on it. Fortunately, I had a very strong A, so it didn't affect my grade. It just made me mad. By the time I got back to the dorm, I was exhausted, and I went to stand in line at 11 o'clock or 11:30, I forgot, to get, my hamburger and go up to my dorm room and go to bed. And the guy in front of me got the last hamburger patty. I was so mad. This was just the worst day ever. The guy behind me, who I don't know to this day, I'll never know why he said it, but he blurted out verbally, "This is my lucky day. I get fresh new hamburger meat." Now that blew me away because I'm standing in the same place he is at the same time. And because my whole morning went to crap, excuse my French, I don't know, he must have made 100 on his exam, but he's looking at the same thing I am, and he's got fresh new hamburger meat, and the last guy got the last one as far as I'm concerned. I never let the negativity behind me affect my judgment of the opportunity in front of me ever again the rest of my life. We were both standing in the same place, and because I had a negative morning, I had a negative attitude towards what happened. He, standing in the same place, was excited about what just happened. No matter what's happening in our lives, and Sarah was right, we're on stage, we can look at the negativity of what just happened to us, or we can look at the opportunity of what's in front of us. Reshape, reboot, get re-excited, re-passionate, and make it happen. Attitude changes everything. In order to have ambassadors, in order to have advocates, in order to be a professional networker, all these things are critical that I've talked about today. The last piece, and then I'll take questions and we'll be done. The last piece is role playing. An actress doesn't get on the stage until they've rehearsed their lines and they know how they're going to approach things and they know how they're going to block and how they're going to express and everything. You have the opportunity to sit down with someone you know and practice a networking presentation. You're sitting down with someone for the first time. You want to tell them how much you admire about them. Tell them, ask them about the amount of time they give to the Dallas Museum of Art. If that's your passion, that's where you met them. Get to know them. Let them know how much you care and excited and respect what it is they do in the community. Build that relationship before you ever go into the fact, hey, you know what? I'm there with you. I love music. I love art. I love bowling, and I'm in a situation right now where I have an opportunity to go work for another company. These are the 4 or 5 companies that I can do best for. Do you know anybody in those companies I should be talking to? Practice that. Become smooth at it. Don't just go there and do it when you've never done it before because it'll make you feel awkward. No actress gets on stage without practicing. Role play with some friends or family members. Get better at it. If you've got 30 people on your list, don't talk to the A people first. Talk to the C and D people first. That way, if you burn it up, it doesn't matter. Work your way up to the most important people you want to talk to and get to know and get comfortable with it. Similar to the kind of practice you do when you're with Jeff and his group doing doing interviews. The more you practice, the more smooth it's going to be when you actually get to the real life interview. These are all important skill sets. You want to be passionate. You want to be prepared. You want to be sincere. And you want it to be about them. And you want to care. You do these things, you'll build a life skill that will last you the rest of your life. And I'm going to finish up with one last story about these 2 guys that are cutting down a tree. And the first guy takes his axe and he's cut down the first tree, cut down the second tree. And the guy next to him has got bloody hands, still cutting down the first tree. And he said, Fred, why don't you go sharpen your axe? And he says, I'm too busy cutting down this tree to go sharpen my axe. You guys have taken a morning out or an afternoon out to listen to me talk about a new skill set to sharpen your axe. And if I've done one thing to help you, then I will have filled my mission, which is to help people become as successful and happy and rewarded as I've been my whole career with the people that have trained me and taught me and helped me become successful. And if I've accomplished that to help you sharpen your axe just a little bit, then I will feel like I've given back. And I want to thank you for your time.
Okay, that is Jay's presentation. Jay did text me. He was online. I mean, he finally got online. He was having computer issues. That's why he couldn't join us. So I'm glad I have these recordings ready to go to play back. Just want to mention a couple of things. We'll get out of here. I know it's after the top of the hour. FW Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Tomorrow morning, we have a really great presentation, how to find target companies using reference solutions. Mike Ray and Pete Hernandez will be with us to talk about how to do that. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, please come join us in person. Christ United Methodist Church. If you're getting our emails, you'll get that email will be going out here in just a couple moments. But if you're in DFW area, come join us in person. Otherwise, join us on Zoom or Facebook Live. Next week, next Tuesday, we won't have an official 1 o'clock presentation, but what I will do is I'll have a video out that you can go back and watch. You present yourself like a pro using LinkedIn. So we'll have no organized session next Tuesday, but I will put a video out that you can watch at your convenience that day. Next Wednesday, special event going on. The practice interview team will be meeting in person. Normally they meet in person on the first and third Wednesday, but because July 4th week, they're not going to be meeting. They wanted to schedule a real practice interview next Wednesday. It will be at Stonebriar Church up in Frisco, Texas, room 156. We do have a real interview already scheduled, so please come join us then. Once again, if you're getting our emails, you'll get those details again next week. Next Thursday, being the 5th Thursday, I'll do a special presentation on successful job searches, focus on these 4 areas. So that'll be our presentation next week. If you'd like to join the Career DFW, Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. On the Career, just as a reminder, this session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. You can go back and watch it at your convenience. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist and then pick the list you want. In this case, pick networking, and where you see the red circle, click on view full playlist. Up will come a list of all the different dates and times, dates, topics, titles, and you can pick whatever video is you want to watch. It will take YouTube probably 2 or 3 hours to get this presentation up, so it will be up later this afternoon. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, just grab your camera, scan that QR code. It will start an email that goes to a Career USA, the +sign to subscribe at groups.io. You don't have to put anything in the email, just send a blank email to this email address and we'll get you signed up. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 14 and a half years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Thursday, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning as we pick target companies.